Hey guys, and welcome back to the Layah Heilpern show, powered by Icon Plus as always, and sponsored by BlockFi. So since this is powered by Icon Plus, a really quick news announcement for you guys from the Icon network. So Icon is another step closer to the full launch of Icon 2.0 as the testnet is now live. This is one to watch as this blockchain upgrade is a power boost to the Icon network for next level DeFi and even more enterprise adoption. So as always, more news coming from the Icon network, which is really great to hear. So I also want to say thank you to my sponsors, BlockFi. So I actually use them to earn up to 8.6% on my USDC. So if you don't know, USDC is a stable coin pegged to the US dollar. So I'm going to leave a link in the description and in the comments because at the moment they actually have an offer. You can earn up to, you can get up to $275 depending on how much you deposit with them. And I think that's only for limited time only. So I'm going to leave that in the comments and in the description, wherever you're watching, you'll find the link. So back to the Layah Heilpern show. Today I have a really cool guest, somebody who has been in the space for quite a long time. Some might call him a bit of an OG, and he also has one of the biggest YouTube accounts. It is, of course, Boxmining. Michael, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? How's it going? A great intro. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. You've been in the space, what, 3 years, 4 years, longer? Am I being really unfair?
Too long. I mean, okay, so you guys know Boxmining, it started off, as mining. So started very, very early. So this is like 2012 early. So this is like, I was a student studying university and I was like, oh, what can I do in my spare time? So at this time, it wasn't like in a professional basis. I knew more about covalent bonds and about Bitcoin and finance, right? So that time it was just like pure nerding out and mining, so to speak. Then more towards 2016, that was when I took it a lot more seriously. This is when, I think we'll talk about it. I mean, you have a few questions, and I think it leads up to it. But long story short, I've been for a ride where I didn't know much about crypto, and it was really in 2016 I really said, you know what, I really want to know a little bit more about it. It's more than something, just click buttons and farm. And it was kind of discovering that kind of our world, it's like taking the red pill, right? Like the world's kind of a lie and the finance system's kind of a lie. And what is the Federal Reserve? It's not really federal, really. But anyway, so it was that when I took it quite a little bit more seriously, started a channel Boxmining, and with the help of the community and together discussing everything, I learned a lot about what the fundamental value of this whole space is. And that kind of grew not just to the space in general, but also with the whole kind of the blockchain revolution coming with Ethereum, decentralized finance, everything. We're kind of like very, very deep into this now. So yeah, that's
what a journey.
Kind of very short, yeah.
Yeah, well, firstly, I love your energy because I know it is 11 p.m. for you. So I love your energy.
It's always fun.
Yeah, of course. And I want to go back a little bit because actually you mentioned 2012. So that's actually insane. And I know you weren't taking it seriously, but how on earth did you first hear about cryptocurrencies? And then I wasn't going to talk about this, but since you mentioned it, I want to talk about that red pill moment, but we'll get there. So first, just think about 2012. How did the world look? You said you were a student. What happened?
Yeah,
How did you hear about it?
Poor student. I mean, I was actually lucky because I'm in science, right? So being the science, I was actually doing a post-grad course. So I was doing a PhD at that time. So I kind of wanted some extra income, right? So as a post-grad student, you get a very small stipend for doing teaching assistant stuff. So, that's a very, very small amount. You make very, very little money, right? So I wanted some extra money on the side. And at that time, there were two things. I'm a big, big gamer. So I kind of know the economy of video games through and through. And also I played a lot of video games. So at that time, I had these computers that were able to perform a lot of operations. I mean, let me see if I can find something cool for you to show you.
But, Can you get us some equipment? Yeah, go for it. Damn, I'm excited.
So yeah,
what have you got there?
So this is like one of the early graphics cards. I was just using it as a prop. This is actually like this I would say is a 2015 model, so it's a little bit older.
Okay.
Probably the oldest ones are gone. But yeah, like you have these graphics cards, and I was figuring out, how can you make money with graphics cards, right? So it was just like, okay, look, there's this thing called Bitcoin. You can mine, and like these power these on, and you can mine, and you can get this thing called Bitcoin. It was worth $10.
But how did you hear about it though?
I don't know. It's internet forums. You just search these things. Like, late at night, you're like, okay, look, I'm a poor student. I need to get some beer money somehow, right? And so I don't know how I stumbled upon it. I think it was a forum or something, but they're like, oh, you can mine Bitcoin with graphics cards. I'm like, okay, cool. I got like 3 computers. Don't ask me why, longer story right there. But I was like, okay, let me just power these computers on, mine Bitcoin. And I got like 0.3 Bitcoin a day. So it sounds like a lot today, but the thing is, like 0.3 Bitcoin back in the day at $10 was like what, $3? And it's not really per day. It's like kind of like 1.5 days, right? Because there's that mining uncertainty there. But occasionally you'll get this email, be like, yo, there's 0.3 Bitcoin coming into your mining pool address. What do you want to do with it? So anyways, back in the day, it was, $3. It was less than anything. Like some people said, this is like, it's worse than pick up cans off the street, right? If you pick up cans off the street, at least you'll probably be making like $7 an hour. But anyways,
that's funny. No, that's funny because when I was at university, I was giving out flyers, and I'd be lucky if I got $7 an hour. So.
Exactly, and this is money when you're sleeping, right? I got free electricity, right? $3 every day, every 1.5. It's not that bad, right? It's not that bad. So that was kind of the initial story, because at that time Bitcoin was mineable by GPUs, right? So at that time I didn't really know what it is. I didn't read through them like what it is. I was just like, oh, this is some crazy guys trying to make some digital currency. No one's gonna use it, So yeah, and also of course you just watch like news, and they're like, oh, Peter Schiff's like shouting, yo, Bitcoin's gonna go to zero. It sucks. It's people are delusional, right? So then when Bitcoin pumped from 10 to 15, I was like 50% pump in a day. Whoa. Damn. Sell it all, dump it. I don't care, right? It's gonna go to zero, right? Peter Schiff, man, he's right. He's onto something, right? So big mistake, obviously. Then I forgot about everything, and then like I think it's 2014, my dad called me and was like, "Yo, you got some Bitcoin? Because like it's like 1,000 something right now, right?" Like,
and you sold it at $10, right?
Yeah, I'm like.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about it? Are you over it? Or?
It took me a while. So this is kind of the story, right? So when in 2014, when you're wrong, right? When you're wrong the first time, you don't want to admit being wrong. You're like, oh, this is going to go to zero, right? And you're hating yourself, but at the same time, you're like, you want yourself to be right, right? You want in those dark moments, you're thinking, oh, how much Bitcoin could I have had, right? And then like, oh man, oh shit, like if I sold it now, it'd be crazy. But so 2012 to 2014. So 2014, that was roughly when that happened. And then I was like, you know what, let me get on with my life. It's like, this is just too crazy. It's too late for me. I don't care, blah, blah, blah. And then it came, so it's like, it just went on. Another 2 years kind of passed until 2016, right? So that was when I said, you know what, I'm going to snap myself out of this kind of a hole. I discovered Bitcoin early. That's great. But I made mistakes. That's early. That's great. Admit those mistakes, come clean about that. And in my spare time, I was like, you know what, let me start a YouTube channel and just talk about that. So that's kind of the story.
I'm gonna get to the YouTube channel, but I'm not done with the story. So, back in the day, people must have thought you're absolutely mad playing with this digital currency, which I think at the time, people obviously thought for whatever reason was criminal. So, what did you do? And I think actually maybe you didn't actually face this just because you're quite fortunate. You came from that gaming and that computer science kind of background, so maybe you didn't receive as much as that of that.
I think it's not as much. I mean, a few things, right? You kind of the media really wants to bash Bitcoin, and you kind of believe it. You're like, okay, look, it's it's backed by some sort of like money laundering. There was a Silk Road back then,
Yeah.
I was a straight kid, right? Like, I don't do drugs and shit. I'm like, if I did, I'll probably be like going online, oh, what's a Silk Road? Let me check this out. But I'm just too dumb for that. So
too much of a good boy. That's what we like to hear.
Too much of a good boy, dude. I'm science, chemistry background. I could have been Breaking Bad by then, but I chose to be like legit, right? Like, let's go legit. Let's save the world. Let's make it a better place. Cure cancer.
Well, just to jump in, they often say that some of like the science and medical students are the most die-hard party kind of students that there are. So
some are, but I was too good for that. I'm like, I have to be superior, better than everyone else, right? I'm like, I'm too good for that. Those guys are junkies, I'm too good. I'm gonna save the world of fucking cancer or something, right? So and I actually did do cancer research. It just took a damn long time. It was like painful. So anyways, so in that sense, I don't think I got that much like criticism for that. I think that's it wasn't that bad, but I think but looking back at it, you can kind of think like, yeah, it's just all FUD, right? Like nowadays you have a completely different lens, but back in the day you would be like kind of persuaded by media because you think, oh, media is legit, right? Like these journalists, they better know what they're talking about. So.
Yeah, of course. And I know 100% agree with you, but I think it makes sense that you probably didn't really face that much just because of the community that you were in. Like when I first heard of Bitcoin, I think it was 2012 as well. I didn't get involved or anything, but that's when I first heard of it. And I heard about it through the whole Silk Road, buying drugs online kind of thing. So that's how I first heard of it. But you mentioned earlier the Federal Reserve, and I really want to talk about this. I wasn't going to ask you, but hey, we're here. So if you could briefly explain what actually is the problem with our traditional financial system. I think we keep banging on about it, don't we? But like, I don't think half the people here probably really could explain to, let's say, their friends, their parents, what the problem really is. Because I think for me, I often find it's kind of like once you're red pilled, it's kind of like that obvious thing and it's really hard to verbalize. So other than, inflation and the printing of money and all this stuff, what would you say the real
It's kind of funny, right? I think it really goes back to power, right? And it turns out that a lot of things we assume it's not real. So like I used to think that the Federal Reserve was a federal entity. It's not, right? It's a collection of banks. So I highly recommend the book The Creature from Jekyll Island. So this book kind of explains the kind of evolution of how the Federal Reserve came to be, and it's like it definitely does take its political. This definitely has a stance. So, I mean, when you're reading the book, this book is obviously opinionated because the creature from Jekyll Island refers to the Federal Reserve. Basically, a bunch of bankers just met up on Jekyll Island very secretly to form this kind of way to control money, right? And obviously, this benefits them the most. And I think this kind of goes to the very core of what we believe is money and authority and power. So at the end of the day, we kind of are taught as kids that we should believe authority, like trust your teachers. You refer to them like I had a, I'm sure you can relate, like British education system. I was like, Mr. whatever, Mr. That, it's the headmaster, right? So
we're taught to conform from a very, very young age.
Yes, we're taught to conform, but I am thankful that during the end of the formative British education days, during the A levels, they start to ask you to question, which is great, right? So towards the end, but early on, it's not. And then you kind of believe the system throughout, right? You believe that the people who are creating money, who are controlling money, they're benign figures. They're trying to do the best job they can, and that's kind of the biggest lie that the system can tell you, right? So once you take the red pill, you kind of start to question, okay, what are these entities and are they trying to serve our interest or their interest? Right. And I think that's the power of it. That's the kind of the power and the broken part of not just the financial system. I mean, it starts off with you question the financial system. Okay, what is this? What is this money? I actually have this is something weird. It's like $1. I was just I had a debate this morning, but anyways, it's interesting. So $1. But it's kind of interesting because back in the day, US dollar was pegged to the gold standard, right? So they're saying, you know what, this money has value, derives value because at the end of the day, it's backed by gold, and they can't artificially make more gold out of nothing. But they broke that gold standard due to war times, etc. And the value of the dollar kept dropping. And I thought, initially when I read the report, I was like, oh, the value of the US dollar dropped by 70%, 97%. I thought, oh, okay, that figure, it doesn't mean much. But if you really think about it, right, like it literally dropped like to nothing. Right? Yeah. Like if a cryptocurrency drops its value by 90% plus, it's dead, right? It's like you wouldn't, it's gone, right? But that's what happened to the dollar over time. And it's because of the way those financial systems kind of rigged and designed. So, this is kind of explained to gold bugs, right? They're like, okay, the gold bugs are constantly saying, look, this is way more, like gold is way more legitimate than the dollar. And then you kind of start questioning, of course, not just like I said, just not just the Federal Reserve, but also the world governments, right? And then that's when it gets really messed up. So I feel like it's multiple levels of understanding. And I think the latest understanding, that's quite depressing too. It's like, I have a friend that literally said, international law is so interesting. And international politics is so interesting because there is no law.
Okay,
right?
Tell us more.
There's just really dark stuff. I mean, like especially what's happening in between US and China. And you can kind of read the undertones through it. Like I don't want to discuss politics too much. It's going to trigger people a lot. But
it's good to know. I'll stay away.
It's good to know that, you just have to be careful, right? Like if you say the wrong things, you do disappear. It sounds weird, but no matter where you are, whether in the States, whether in China, whether in the UK, you think you have rights and liberties, right? But until a certain point where you can just suddenly disappear. So
I'm with you.
I'll leave it ominous like that. Look at what happened to OKX, right? Like they literally made a message that said, yo, we can't find Star anymore. Like Star Shu, our ex-CEO who has all the keys to your cryptocurrency deposits. Well, we can't contact him anymore. He's cooperating with authorities.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you. I think, and that's one of the main reasons for me why I've kind of chosen to delve into this space more and essentially stay here, just because it is independent from those liberties and whatever, those freedoms and liberties. So I sort of imagine, I won't ask you too much on this, but I sort of imagine then you're not too pleased with the increasing restrictions that we've seen following, the whole coronavirus thing. I just wondered, what's it like in Hong Kong with the whole coronavirus?
Yes and no. I mean, from a science background, I said very early, and I covered coronavirus very early, right? Because it came from Wuhan, China. And I was one of the first, in fact, I covered it when I actually had to cancel my trip back to China. At that time, there were no quarantine. It's nothing, but it was just I was like, this is the right thing to do. I was going to visit my parents over Chinese New Year, and I was like, what? Let me just cancel it. So I covered it, and we actually found out quite a lot, like the fact that it was way more dangerous than initially thought. I mean, I think the rest of the international community was just jumping around, literally not looking at facts for until February, right? So it's they squander, the WHO literally squandered a lot of valuable time. I think that there was a time when I don't want to argue too much about this, right? Because it's so long in the past, but it's so political, right? And then from a scientific perspective, right? This was something that they could have prevented very early on, and we could have completely kind of eliminated it very early on if we did the necessary steps very early on. So I felt like this was a situation where I think it was 100% preventable. In Hong Kong, we now have no cases, no domestic cases.
Do you have any lockdown or anything like
yes,
that
we did.
now?
So, okay, so hear me out.
I won't
on this,
ask you
okay?
too much.
Before people go all crazy and stuff, and I think a lot of people they hated me for wearing a mask and all that weird stuff, but Hong Kong is a very, very densely populated place. If you ever go to Mongkok or Chim Sha Tsui, you'll see, you have no personal space. Like, you go in America, your personal space is 1.5 meters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here in Hong Kong, your personal space is literally touching the next person next to you, right?
Really?
So, the virus could have hit us very, very hard here, but it was a very clear case that people wore masks very early on, and that really did contain the spread. Like this, Hong Kong could have been obliterated by this. So I would say 100%, people were like protesting masks and stuff, you know what, just get your head out of your ass. It depends on where you are. Obviously, if you're in, the wilderness and whatever, it doesn't spread. But, at the end of the day, like speaking from a country where the population density is insane here, I think, Hong Kong did something right. But, we did have some lockdowns, etc., blah, blah, blah. Long story cut short. I think, honestly, there were some screw-ups too. I won't get into it. It's just like from a scientific perspective, I just want to go to politicians and just slap them in the face and say, yo, you know what? You kill people. And it's just shameful. You guys just screwed it up completely.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. We'll leave the coronavirus. We'll leave it there.
Yeah,
we will do. But I think that's super interesting. So thanks for sharing your thoughts on that, just because you are obviously very close to China, being in Hong Kong, more close than I am. So that's super interesting to hear your points. Okay, so like I said earlier, you are one of the biggest crypto YouTube channels. So tell me about how you actually started it. How has it been? Because, keeping up that kind of momentum constantly is a lot. And also, is this what you do full time?
Lots of questions there. All right.
Yeah.
So thanks for the compliments. I think one of the channels that grew and blew up in 2017. I'm very grateful for that. I'm really grateful for the community. And I have some people who really appreciate the content. And I want to say, I really appreciate everyone's feedback too. So just shout out to everyone on Telegram and on YouTube, etc. So yeah, definitely big shout outs to you guys. I think it's really cool. So I learned a lot from that. And from 2016 onwards, became both content creation and also investing in the space. Okay. So 2017, I was trying to balance both, and it was hell. Like literally going to conferences and then trying to create content at conferences and then trying to figure out what people like. And then sometimes people like it, sometimes people don't. That's the thing with content creation, right? Sometimes they love you for it, sometimes they hate you for it, and then sometimes they love you for it like 6 months later after they screamed at you for it. So it's kind of funny. And then from 2018, 2019, I'm kept up with it and now as well. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep up a live stream. So guys, catch me tomorrow. I'll be online in roughly less than 12 hours actually. So on my channel as well. So I'll do live streams Monday and Friday, and I try to create content on the side. But to be honest, I've been investing a lot. That has been a primary focus of 2020, where because I have so much money on the market, it's no longer very viable for me to aggressively create content. So that's the unfortunate side effect of being in crypto. But at the same time, money is great, right? So that's the kind of the honest truth. So it's kind of a finding a balance. Like maybe I'll kind of correct back to making content more later, and we'll kind of balance it out.
Yeah, it is about finding the balance. And you often hear, even if it's not in the crypto community, just about general creators, you get creator burnout, don't you? Because it's just constantly, and you've achieved so much. And you're even one of like I was saying earlier, before we went live, we were chatting, and I was sort of saying to you that I actually go to your channel when I'm confused about something and I want to learn more about it. So yeah, I think back in like July, I was watching your stuff about DeFi. You were one of the first people to actually put up content about DeFi, yield farming, even NFTs.
I think. Oh my God, that's crazy. That's nuts. It's just absolutely crazy. Yeah. Go for it.
So
how about your story? I mean, I think you created content. Now you're independent. How was that?
Oh, you want to hear about me? Okay, we
I want to hear about you. I want to hear about you. I mean, it's been,
Okay, we could do that. Are we switching? All right. What do you want to know?
We're switching. I just want to see, as a content creator, how do you find that balance? Because I'm struggling, man. I'm like having a hard time.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it is a lot. It's a really good question, and I've not thought about this, so I'm going to think about it as I speak. Okay, so here we go. To everybody watching live. Okay, it's tricky. I think you have to prioritize the most effective things, and you can either spread yourself thin or you can really prioritize what's most effective. So like for me personally, I'm really prioritizing Twitter. I think it's really effective. I think, you know, if you compare it to platforms like LinkedIn, I've never, ever gone any work through LinkedIn. Ever, which is absolutely hilarious to think about it. I've only ever gotten work through Twitter. So I'm really pushing my Twitter. I'm also pushing TikTok because I think TikTok is the next big thing. So in terms of balancing, I don't know. I just keep going. I don't know. I drink wine and it helps. I don't know what to say. I don't really know. I drink wine and it helps. I'm not really sure.
Legit. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Yeah, I think you're having fun. I think that's that's what I get. You know, like I saw some content creators, and they got really severe burnout because they're trying to manage a job and they're also trying to create content. And I was doing that when I first started, right? And I was like, no, like at some point you need to do this full time. You also need to have some fun. Exactly. But also, I've been having a hard time balancing work life as well, because the DeFi thing caused me to literally work like 15-hour days during the yield farming times, right? Because you're literally chasing up every new farm, right? The new opportunity pops up, and then even like this week, I mean, people know Keeper, like Keeper just popped out, and like I had a split second to make a decision whether to buy it or not. It's like, oh, it's Andre Cronje's new project. What is it? I don't know. But like every second, like actually not every second, I think it went up 26x in the first 26 minutes. So every minute is a 1x from the original price. So you're like, you know, like that's a lot of psychological pressure. I feel like that's the kind of the crypto thing. Like you're combining both price, like speculation pressure, combine that with a content creator pressure, and it actually can like take a huge toll. So I'm super impressed that you do so much content. You know, you consistently do this. I think that's pretty cool. Like that's awesome.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's really nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of like doing what I can, pushing through. And I think you make a really good point. I think it's really difficult to do that content creator thing while having a full-time job. So I think this is just what I do full-time. I guess it's what you do full-time. In terms of balancing the whole social life, that's a really interesting topic. So I just sort of feel like, given everything right now with lockdown, because like Europe, lockdown is still huge. Okay, so not that I'm based in Germany or France, but Germany and France have just gone into another lockdown. Oh, no, yeah, so they've just gone into another lockdown, and the UK is going that way anyway. So I haven't really had any socializing available. So
really? I thought you'd be like, because I talked to some people in Europe, and they're just driving like the convertible around between France and Germany. I'm like, oh my god, that is life, right? Like I'm so
the UK is not that fun.
No, really? That sucks. It's like, like I was like quite surprised, to be honest. Like, what was it? Like, because in Hong Kong we can't really leave. So basically, in Hong Kong, if you leave, you're gonna be quarantined, right? So you don't want to come back and
that's the same in Europe. It's the same in Europe. So I'm in Romania right now. And when I got to Romania, I had to quarantine for 2 weeks. And when I go back to the UK, I have to quarantine for 2 weeks. But I don't think I'm going to the UK. I think I'm going to go somewhere else. But I want to keep chatting, and I want to talk to you about what is going on in the market. Okay. So it's been really, really interesting. I want to get your thoughts on Bitcoin. I want to get your thoughts on potential new highs. Because, you know, we had the PayPal news. Every day we hear more and more companies are getting into Bitcoin, whether it's MicroStrategy or Square. You know, we saw Bitcoin obviously pump straight after the PayPal news. So we've had a retracement. Things are going back up again. I'm really positive about everything, but let's hear your thoughts.
You're going to hate me. I'm like, I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence. Hear me out on this. So I love all the good news. PayPal was just like, oh my god, that's crazy, right? Not like, and also you have to read between the lines with PayPal, right? Because people are like originally pointing out the limitations of what PayPal service can do, but then now you hear acquisitions, possible acquisitions about BitGo, and you can kind of see the what they're trying to build, right? Because you should never trust companies for what they say they are doing right now, but what they're trying to do, right? And like that's the strategy going forward, right? The vision. So that's kind of interesting. But at the same time, I've also pulled a little bit of brakes over it, because I feel like everyone being so bullish makes me bearish.
Ooh, okay.
Because like even Twitter, you see everyone reposting, retweeting bearish comments, and I'm guilty of tweeting that sometimes too, right? I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna make a bullish comment and call it like that's my social media work for today, right? And that's when I'm bullish, right? So, but right now, like I'm kind of a little bit more quiet because like, okay, look, if everyone is this bearish, and especially like I hear people in my channel, they're like, yeah, this bullish. Everyone's so bullish. They're like, oh, Bitcoin's gonna hit 25K. No, 250K. Don't be joking, idiot.
No, 1 million. Why are you so bearish?
Right? So then you're like, okay, look, listen. If everyone is so bullish, all right, and the expectations are this high, right? What if they don't get met? All right. So I didn't completely move out. Like before I freak everyone out, I just want to mess with people too. Like when I say this, people think like, oh, I sold everything. No, I didn't. So I took around 20% of my alts just out. Just like, you know what? The reason being is because right now the focus is, I think everyone knows the focus is on Bitcoin and Ethereum because we just had 2 massive runs in DeFi, right? So great, de-risk there. You know, that's a new phrase I learned recently. De-risk. It sounds much better than dump, right? I'm gonna de-risk. I'm gonna de-risk some altcoins. All right, and then
I love that so much. I'm gonna de-risk some altcoins.
Down some de-risking, and then bought some Bitcoin. So don't kill me here. Bitcoin's it's good. I believe in it, but I still also hold some stable coins. So I said this Monday. So a few people were a little bit uneasy that I said this, but you know it did go down a bit, and I'm slowly starting to re-enter a bit just in case, that made some money there. So that's good. I think I'm actually a little bit more optimistic. So just to update everyone. So I said that on Monday and then everyone freaked out. So it's still my general sentiment, but I do see some positive real news coming out of Asia. So recently Singapore DBS accidentally, I'm not sure how accidental or not, but they leaked a new service that allows people to buy crypto. And I think this is almost real because DBS has a reputation of allowing more crypto customers than everyone else. So I feel like that could be something that they're building, but they obviously deleted that kind of crypto service from their website like immediately, right? So I can't prove it for myself. It was like up for a second and it was gone. But that hit the news, and then we saw some real, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for real signs that to be bullish, right? So to keep that momentum up, right? Because to really hit 25K, if everyone's like talking 25K, 250K, you got to have some serious legs, right? You got to have some serious punches to throw before hitting there, and I think that's what I'm looking for.
So, but that aside, though, I mean, how do you feel about Bitcoin in general? Because it sort of isn't clear whether you even think it's going to ever reach new highs. You're sort of thinking we need legs to get there.
I mean, absolutely. But I think the objective of saying this is not to make people bearish or whatnot, but to make people think reasonably, because I think if everyone thinks reasonably, then we can move up. I think that's my subconscious mind. It's my mind trick, right? The Jedi mind trick here. Like, yo, think Bitcoin's going to go down and then it's going to go up. But if you keep thinking it's going to go up, guys, that's the one direction to go down. So I feel like Bitcoin has a lot of potential. I think that's pretty abundantly clear. We don't make content endlessly on this space if we think it's going to go down. All right, let's calm down, listen to this, listen. All right, so I still have like a huge Bitcoin bags. I still hold a lot of altcoins too. All right. So, and in fact, I'm still investing heavily in this space too. But at the same time, I'm definitely holding myself back a little bit more than I was during the DeFi days. And I think that's absolutely necessary. Did I regret or not? Because obviously I was still holding myself back, and I didn't ape as hard as I should into Keeper. So maybe that's my punishment for not being a little bit more conservative, but I'm okay with that,
Yeah, you gotta hedge yourself against some risk there. But lots of questions I have. So I'm just still trying to understand your perspective on Bitcoin. I know you still hold big bags, but do you even think it could get to new highs? I feel like
absolutely.
Okay, good. I was just gonna say that wasn't obvious.
Okay. I think I stepped on the gas too early. I stepped on the brakes too early. I think I'm just kind of, I'm kind of just like the people who think Bitcoin's gonna be like 25K in a month, like
right. Okay.
Not that, but I definitely think like Bitcoin is fundamentally right. It's fundamentally poised to move up, and that's why I'm holding huge bags. I mean, that's clear.
Okay, cool. Because I mean, I was gonna say, if we look at the average year on year, it's just getting higher. Whether there's no wild bull run or whatever, just year on year.
Obviously, like that's the obvious.
You're stressing out for a sec.
And also, like, I think that's what I do. Also, is I'm kind of a dick like that. Like, I stress people out and see their response. Like, if they're concerned and panicking, I'm like, okay, you're over leveraged. Like,
okay, so it's all about the balance. You're bringing people back this way.
Are you aggressively leveraged in Bitcoin?
Maybe. But anyway.
Maybe. All right, got it. Confession time, right?
Okay, so you mentioned some alts, and I definitely want to talk about that. So when can we see an alt season? You mentioned you're still holding alts, so obviously I'm going to ask you, which alts are you holding, Michael? And
everything.
which alts?
Everything. Name one, apart from Hex. I'm holding everything. Just joking. Oh man, I had a war with those guys this week. But yeah, I'm at a. Oh really? It spread it very far. Okay, I see.
No, I only know because I'm looking in the comments. No,
really?
I'm looking in the comments and somebody has written Boxmining recommended to avoid the best performing crypto. Oh, here we go. I'll put it on screen. That's what I saw in the comments. So,
yep. We have this ongoing war. Best performing. Yep.
Just go. Well, okay, actually, I'm not going to go into it. I don't want to go into it.
Let's not go into it.
Let's not go into it. Okay, back to the alts. So, talk to me. What are you holding, and what is your top pick for 2021?
Oh shit! No, I'm not saying that. No comment. Let me think. I think it's always dangerous to say that. I don't know why, but for some reason this year I haven't really been aggressively pushing alts. I think I've said my medium bags already, so I'll repeat that in terms of the alts. So I started off Utrust because I think entry points are important. They recently just released a card.
You're working on that, right? Was that the one you were working on? Was it Utrust you were working on? I can't remember.
There's two cards. There's two cards. There's two cards. There's Plutus card and then there's Utrust card, and both available in Europe first. I'm really jealous of you guys. All right, so Utrust and also has payments too. So that's like kind of accepting payments with merchants. Then we have Swissborg, which is entry points, like going into crypto, out of crypto, so you can buy crypto easily. I think that's a no-brainer. Having this infrastructure there, if the bull run is to come, that should be it, right? We also have engines or NFTs. I was a little bit disappointed about engine, to be honest. Like they didn't really catch this whole DeFi wave the way they should have caught it. I mean, they're trying to do stuff. Like they have this like NFT awards. I'm like, I don't know. Like they really need to aggressively push. I feel like this is like their time to shine. So I've been like, yo, do some shit, but that's like me trying to push them. I don't know how much that works. I also have Binance, so BNB was actually the top pick. So I picked that up around $18, and I told everyone about that. So that was great. BNB was kind of obvious, right? Because they need to come back. Yeah. They really need to push. They have the Binance Smart Chain coming up. They're trying to push their stuff out. So that makes sense, right? I still have some Chainlink as well. I think that Chainlink was like the top Oracle choice for.
I'm gonna just pause you on that one. Chainlink. Let's just quickly chat about it because there's been a lot of noise. So, do you think we're actually going to see another run with Chainlink? I mean, I remember when it was running. I remember a lot of analysts were sort of saying we could see $32 by December.
I hate those analysts.
Tell me more.
Look. We've been in crypto like for some time, right? And anytime the analyst says X, like,
what happens?
Let me short it, okay? Because it almost never goes well. So. A few things with Chainlink. I think that was a very interesting phenomenon, and I heard a lot. I liked a lot, didn't like a lot, but at the end of the day, I think I made my peace with it. So a few things, right? From a fundamental tech perspective, oracles are very important, and I'm going to cover a lot more about oracles. And I mean, the easiest way to describe it is this, right? Chainlink provides data, right? And that makes smart contracts smarter, right? Smart contracts is only as smart as the data they get, right? So at the end of the day, they need data somehow. So this whole kind of battle over kind of the Oracle space, the providing data, I think that's very important. But the problem, of course, when it comes to evaluation, like how do you evaluate the ecosystem, the value of said ecosystem? And this is one of the biggest issues with crypto, right? So I feel like this is where this gets really murky. I think Chainlink has a lot of very good supporters. They're very, very good at doing partnerships, and the community is very strong. So I think that's very valuable. They also had this attack from Zeus Capital, which was very, very interesting. And there was this huge report, people trying to flood the crap out of them. So I find that very interesting, right? Like maybe there's a little bit of truth to that too. How do you really evaluate the price, right? So people are going to hate me now for saying that, but I'm kind of in the middle now. I'm kind of saying, look, it definitely has value, and I don't really care what the FUD says. I'm just going to have a bit of exposure to it, and I think that's the kind of the end sentiment I'm going to have on Chainlink, where I want to be exposed, so I have some exposure, but I'm not going to be like those crazy guys who are like, oh, analysts say $30 or $100. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Stop trusting analysts, right?
Yeah, no, I get you. And I also think, if we believe that DeFi is going to take off, and if we sort of think that it's going to continue and this is just the beginning, then I think there's definitely, a market for oracles to provide more data to make smart contracts smarter, as you put it. So I don't know about the predictions, but I'm definitely following, put it that way. Okay, so somebody in the comments has just written vechain. I want to get your thoughts on vechain. Are you holding vechain?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, vechain it's actually a bigger bag. So I put Bitcoin, Ethereum, and vechain on the top. So that kind of explains it. So Bitcoin is like the one that's like the biggest. Ethereum, vechain. Why vechain number 3 is because they are tackling enterprise, right? Okay. So like I've been trying to aggressively find projects that has a real use case, right? Like, because you kind of view it this way, right? Bitcoin has its use case, which is decentralized money. And over these 10 years, a lot of projects have tried to tackle Bitcoin's position as decentralized money, and they pretty much failed, right? You kind of see that all the coins that are arguing that they're decentralized money, they're slowly dying away, right? They're slowly withering away, right? Because Bitcoin is just too dominant. Everyone's using Bitcoin. It's become the de facto currency for decentralized money. So I feel like that's why I hold Bitcoin. I feel like it's super hard to challenge its position because everyone is using it, and the more adoption there is, the harder it is to kind of challenge it, right? So that's number one. Then Ethereum, I don't really view it as just decentralized money, right? It's also running an entire platform because it's Turing complete. It allows for decentralized finance, right? Like the whole DeFi revolution started because of Ethereum, and Ethereum is the OG one there, right? So, and also with Ethereum, it's also the case where a lot of projects try to replace it, but they can't because Ethereum has such a strong both community where speculators and also long-term hodlers and also developers, which is very, very core as well. So huge amount of development. I mean, think about a Uniswap, all the Wi-Fi stuff, whether it's Keeper or whatever that's coming out, all this decentralized stuff, that's all like on Ethereum, and they can create as many things as they want. So Ethereum's up there. Then, of course, vechain is more the enterprise side. I mean, if you think about it, one of the biggest values you can create in the space is with being able to provide authenticity. So having this kind of direct application of it, right? So vechain, they already developed a lot of products where you can just like say, you put your phone, NFC tag, scan a device, and it immediately queries, it finds a tag ID, queries the blockchain to find out where it's been, how it's been going, and you can precisely track how it got to you. And this is actually very powerful because like for luxury goods and stuff, we're like very worried about counterfeits, and even for logistics, supply chains and stuff, like being able for these tags to work in tandem with blockchain. I feel like that's like the low hanging fruit for adoption. But obviously that being said, it still takes a lot of time. I think a lot of people are like, oh my God, it's been a year, guys, it's been a year. When moon. And I think that's it does take time, it does take time. So I feel like that's the situation is at now, where I think that's kind of the core. I put it away and I forget about it, and then I kind of just play with all of these weird alts, which is hilarious.
So, we talk about DeFi and NFTs and all this stuff and Ethereum. So Ethereum, obviously, we know at this point cannot necessarily scale, just because, we saw what happened with CryptoKitties when it was under that kind of scaling pressure. So when do you think we're going to see Ethereum 2.0? And do you think Ethereum 2.0 will actually be able to, you talk about the fruit, hanging mass adoption kind of analogy. Do you think it could actually make this happen?
I think that's a question on everyone's minds. But two things, right? So ETH 2.0 is going to launch, but ETH 2.0 was promised to us when I was making videos too, right? So not to flood everything for anyone who likes ETH. Like, I have to be so careful now what I say, because I can sometimes sound like a douchebag. And then now I don't know why, but I'm trying to, sometimes I intentionally push people's buttons, but just be aware of that, okay? So sometimes if you get your buttons pushed, sometimes I might just be a dick, all right?
We'll take it with a pinch of salt.
Take it with a pinch of salt. So, I was making ETH videos, ETH 2.0 videos when it was back in 2017. So it's been a long time. That being said, we actually saw some really good developments this year. So for example, we actually have like the beacon chain up. So phase 0 of Ethereum 2.0. I have a whole video on it. So ETH 2.0, I think it won't be what people expect, because phase 0 doesn't scale at all. Right, it's not to create scaling, it's create randomness. So once ETH 2.0 starts, it's the beginning rather than the end of the scaling issue. So ETH, it's not going to be, and this is where ETH 2.0 is on-chain scaling. It's going to battle off-chain scaling with optimistic rollouts. So this is where ETH, like some people have branded this ETH 1.5.
Yeah. Okay.
So there is ZK rollups and optimistic rollups coming up. I'm still not as versed as I should be on both of these. Okay. So recently, I've seen some projects already deploy some scaling solutions that rely not on ETH 2.0 but on optimistic rollouts, on ZK rollouts. So, for example, right now, if you look at Curve has actually have a test on ZK rollup. So so it's actually pretty awesome. So hopefully that comes soon. I mean, we'll have to see. So long story cut short, I think there are going to be solutions deployed. And I also do agree with a lot of people who think that regardless of ETH 2.0 or one of these scaling techniques, or even Matic, for example, right? I think a lot of people are hyping up on Matic. But regardless of what, we're going to use some form of scaling on Ethereum to make it like at least usable for the everyday user. But that's still, I mean, it's still a long journey. I think, you just have to wait and be patient. It's hard. It's hard. Okay. It's hard truths. Yeah.
Okay, so we are coming up close to an hour, and I don't want to keep you too long because it's nearly midnight for you, which is actually insane. I'm still not over this time difference thing. So just finally, can you give us your last words? What have you got to say? And I will put you on full screen for this. It's going to be great. Go on.
Last words, be smart. So, crypto, I think recently I've been having kind of a lot of thinking, right? I don't know why, but I've been thinking a lot more. So for me personally, just like the more you think and plan, that helped me a lot. So not financial, of course, advice, of course, but use brain, use this rather than this. For me, that kind of works. I mean, some people invest with this. Okay, that great, good for you. Do what works for yourself. But for me, I'm always been thinking of kind of what's out there, what's the next big thing, and that's kind of my objective personally. If you want to follow and kind of what right now, I'm a lot more brutally honest. So I feel like that's kind of the style I'm trying to do. I think that's kind of fun. And we've been doing that on the live stream. So I'll shamelessly promote my live streams here. So Boxmining, just search on YouTube. And it's on Hong Kong time, Friday mornings, and Monday mornings. So just search for that. You'll find when the live stream times are and just join that community. We also have a very strong Telegram community. It was really great. We had a blast on that community to talk about everything new, especially when Andre dropped Keep Corona. So it was like kind of crazy. So that's the only discussion we've been having for some time. So anyway, so if you guys want to join us, just join YouTube, and eventually you can get an invite to Telegram. It's kind of exclusive now, which is great. But it was all free, and it's all free, and everyone we'll find a way to let everyone in, like all the cool people in, and that's awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm gonna say. That was putting me on my spot also, but that was cool.
But I thought it was great. You put me on the spot earlier, so that was great. No, that's brilliant. And I think, it's super important. A lot of people do invest with their heart instead of their head. So invest with your head. Do every trade with your head, and sort of leave your heart for your social life. Anyway, I want to thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. I'm going also to thank BlockFi, they're my sponsors, and also I want to give a quick shout out to Bitcoin Jimbo. You guys should follow him. He does all my channel art. So if you are interested in getting some cool thumbnails, some cool graphic designs, getting a logo, hit up Bitcoin Jimbo. He's really cool, and he's in Australia, so he's just a super cool guy. Anyway, thank you everyone. Michael, thank you so much. I will see you all next Thursday, and I have a really cool guest then. So goodbye, over and out.